For 40 straight years that has gone on. So we know the challenges that are out there. Now, I want to say we're going to win this election. We're working hard. As long as people understand those issues and understand it's important to come out in an off year. And Monica's over here. We're signing up. I hope before any of you leave that you sign up to help us here, because we really need your help. We need you on the doors. We are 114 days away. It is going to come so fast. But it's going great today. The reason is I am running on a message, as all of you heard, I talk about jobs, I talk about economic development. That's what we need to grow our economy. We have challenges in Virginia, and with challenges come opportunities. We all know that the stimulus is over. The Department of Defense has cut $500 billion from the budget. We are the #1 recipient of DOD dollars. And let me give a shout out, he's not here, but to our great member of Congress, Jim Moran. Give Jim a... Jim's been responsible for helping bring in, and I want to recognize our 8th District Chair, Margo. Stand up. Give her a That Moran machine is something, and we got to make sure that, not this year, but next year, we can get a few more folks in the Congress who are going to help Jim do what he needs to do, and obviously our other members of Congress. But it starts here. I talk about jobs, economic development, because of those challenges that we're going to face. We're going to, and most people will tell you on September 30, that Congress is probably going to vote to take sequestration into another year. Now, this year, we cut the low-hanging fruit. Next year, we'll have a dramatic impact on Virginia because we are the #1 recipient. So how do we grow? How do we diversify? How do we bring in those new jobs? I talk about cybersecurity, nano, bio-life sciences. These are the future jobs. We need a governor who's going to get out of bed every single day figuring, how do we make Virginia the best? And I think we've all seen the stories when Mark Warner and Tim Kaine were governor, we were #1 in the country in the CNBC. 2 years ago, we dropped to 3. This week, we dropped to 5th, going in the wrong direction. We got to bring those common sense, mainstream ideas back in order to grow our economy. I have been in business my whole life. I did start my first business when I was 14, because my folks couldn't afford to send me to college. I started sealing driveways, then got into parking lots, was a bank chairman when I was 30. I built thousands of homes, been in a wide variety of businesses. Renewable energy. I've learned the ups and downs in business. I have been in that arena every single day. And that's what you want in your governor. Just as Mark Warner had come in with a business background. We need to make sure we're working together, but in order to grow the economy, we've got to have a modern, efficient transportation system. I don't have to tell anybody in this room the challenges that we face. Dorothy and I have lived in the same home in Northern Virginia for 21 years, raising 5 children. Our address hasn't changed in 21 years, but I can tell you this, our commute to school, to work, to soccer games, lacrosse, that's all changed. It is now a challenge to go see one of our 5 kids play a ball game in the afternoon. You try to get on 95 here, used to be late Fridays, people go to the beach, it now starts on Wednesdays. So we've got to fix transportation. And now we do have some money, about $6 billion to begin that process. As Walter said, as soon as the governor, and I will commend Governor McDonald, it was not an easy thing for him to do. His base went after him, but in 27 years we could not get the funding done. Virginia would have been one of a few states in 2017. Think of this for a second. We were going to forfeit all of our federal match. You get $4 from the federal government for every dollar we put up. But in 2017, we weren't going to have the dollar. All the money was going to be in maintenance, none in construction. Forfeiting billions of dollars. That's what we were facing. So I talked to the governor as soon as he announced his bill and said, I am all in. As Barbara knows, I went and spoke to the Senate caucus twice. I spoke to the House delegates twice. We needed it. And Democrats and Republicans came together in a bipartisan way. And let's be clear, my opponent tried to stop it at each and every turn. Well, you cannot bring businesses here if you're in gridlock. We waste 70 hours a year stuck in traffic in Northern Virginia. 43 hours a year in Hampton Roads. We were wasting $1.7 billion a year just stuck in traffic. Now we have a common sense approach and we're going to move forward on transportation. I'm also very big on the Metro. I was a full supporter of the Silver Line. I just toured the new station out in McLean. It's going to be spectacular. My opponent said with the Silver Line that if he were governor, he'd kill it, even if it was halfway completed. We need Metro to go out to our great international airport. It's now going into Loudon. I'm all into passenger rail. We need to make sure that we got to get folks out of cars and we got to get them into mass transit. That's a vision. So as governor, we went on my desk day one. I'm not going to be for political roads. I'm going to be for roads that ease congestion and have an economic development component. And the other thing is, I want the local communities to be involved in transportation planning. You live in your local communities. We shouldn't be dictating to you. You should be telling us what works. And so it will be a teamwork approach as governor on transportation. The second big issue for me, I talk about this every single day, is education. I view education as an investment, not an expense. But we have some challenges. Today in Virginia, if you take average Virginia pay to average teacher pay, do you know where we rank in the nation? We're 50th. We're dead last. We are 50 out of 50. It's hard to bring in the best and brightest teachers and retain the best and brightest teachers if we're not keeping up with the pay. As governor, I want to make sure we're paying our teachers the national average. We have tens of thousands of teachers now that are over the age of 50. We need to be replacing them. I have also called for a total reform of the standards of learning. SOLs, they do not work in their present form. Today, all they do is gauge failure. I want tests that are going to gauge progress and success. I want to make sure that they're tests to make sure we're preparing our students for 21st century economy. Today in Virginia, if you have a teacher in the 5th grade who gets a student who's reading at the 1st grade level, and by the end of that year, the students worked hard, the teachers worked hard, and they get that student reading at a 4th grade level, today that teacher is deemed a failure. We've got to get rid of this end of the year, multiple choice, high stakes test. Do it earlier in the year, maybe essay so we get a better gauge of what we need to do. And we've got to stop forcing our teachers to teach to a test. We need our students to be thinking cognitively, creatively. So as it relates to teachers, I am all in. And I'm tired of everybody who constantly, like my opponent, who constantly demonizes teachers. I want to work with teachers. Most of you probably know we have 23 community colleges. I'm proud to say I'll be the first candidate or governor that will have gone to all 23. I've gone to 21 so far. I got 2 more to go. 3 out of 5 of our higher ed students in Virginia today go to a community college. But in 2008, you know what our contribution was to each student? $4,400. You know where it is today? It's down to $2,500. So what are supposed to be our affordable choices for so many of our students is now getting out of range for many folks. We need to invest in our community colleges. In higher ed in the 4-year, we got to do more tuition assistance so that everybody has that opportunity to get the education they need to prepare. The other huge issue between the two of us, let me be clear, as governor, do not send a bill to my desk for the budget. Do not do it unless the Medicaid expansion is included in the budget. Let's deal with it first and foremost. Beginning next year, we can cover up to 400,000 Virginians with life-saving quality health care. Now, if we don't take it, let's be clear, it's going to cost our hospitals $190 million in costs because today they're being reimbursed for indigent care and emergency rooms. That all goes away next year. So there's a cost if we don't take it. But let's be clear. We are going to spend $26 billion, it is the law of the land, over the next 10 years shipping to Washington for health care. Why would we possibly not want to bring in the next 7 years $21 billion back to Virginia? It's our money, it is our taxpayer money to roll through our economy, our doctors, our nurses, our home health care providers. We need to, and I know we have SEIU here. I just met with the SEIU folks the other day. You sit in a room I did the other day with a woman who works 3 jobs just to put food on that table. That's not a Virginia that I want to be governor of. I want to be a governor that's making sure that we're providing for our families, and that Medicaid expansion is absolutely critical to what we need to do going forward. And as Walter said, one of the first things I want to do, I want to sit at my desk, and I want Alfonso leaning over that with a whole series of pens as I sign that DREAM Act in Virginia. Yeah! It's ever gone. But that's just ours. Let's get it all the way and get it going, because it's the right thing to do. We cannot grow Virginia with a social ideological agenda. The attacks that we have seen on women's health in the last several years in Virginia is inexcusable. I want every woman in this room to understand that I will be a brick wall. That if they try to do any of this insane legislation they've tried to do in the last couple of years, I will be a brick wall. I will veto it. I will fight it. I trust women to make their own decisions on their own. As you know, has sponsored personhood legislation, which would outlaw most forms of contraception in Virginia, including making the pill illegal. My opponent has attacked gay Virginians. He calls gay Virginians soulless human beings and self-destructive. I'm telling you this, I was proud to be one of the leaders in the entire South as a statewide candidate, being one of the first to come out for marriage equality. Yes! These mean-spirited attacks, because we've got to grow and diversify. I know, I mentioned cybersecurity. I know that I have to bring businesses in from Silicon Valley. Women are 50% of the workforce of the United States of America. Women, for the first time, have now gone over there. 40% of the households, the woman is the breadwinner in the home today. So I know, to grow and diversify the economy, I need women, and you cannot do that if you are putting walls up around Virginia and making Virginia an inhospitable place to live. So this is a big fight I'm willing to have. I want to move forward in a positive way, working together. But I need your help. I need you on the doors. I need you making the phone calls. It is so critical for our future. And I want everybody to know, if you give me the next 114 days, I promise you, no one will work harder as governor. And I'll do it in a mainstream, bipartisan way like we had with Mark Warner and we had with Tim Kaine, bringing folks together. The Medicaid expansion, I've been talking to Lieutenant Governor Bowling, who supports it, the Virginia Chamber of Commerce. That's why I supported Governor McDonald on transportation. We are a much better place when we were your help for the next 114 days. And I promise you, once I get in, I will work around the clock. As most of you know, I don't sleep. I don't believe in it. I think it's overrated. I say sleep when you're dead. We've got gigantic challenges. I am running for governor because Dorothy and I, like everybody in this room, we want our 5 children to stay in Virginia. Children can now move in a global economy. They can go wherever they want. They will not stay in a state if we don't have 21st century jobs. We don't have a modern, efficient transportation system. They're not going to spend 3-4 hours driving down 95 to Richmond. They're not going to do it. They're not going to be a state where we don't have the best education system for their children. Or we don't have, as I say, the best delivery of the healthcare services. These are big issues. So when you hit those doors and you ask me, why do we need to vote this year? It's the transportation funding, it's reforming what we need done on education, it's the Medicaid expansion. He's against it, I'm for it. Let us be crystal clear. So I am excited about this challenge. It's going to get very hot out there in the next 114 days. Never worry about me. I am up for that fight. I love a good fight because I am going to fight for the principles of our party of fairness and equality. That's why I'm a Democrat, and that's why I'm a Virginian, and that's what I'm going to fight for as your governor. So thank you very much.